a little slimmer, a little sleeker, and a little more advanced. Hey there, this episode of Some Gadget Guy is brought to you by viewers like you, all of the folks who share content across social media, and the amazing generosity of my patrons at patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. Okay, the folks at 88.49 sent over the new Tank 4 Pro for me to test drive, share some thoughts. It should look immediately, oops, I picked up the wrong one. It should look immediately familiar after reviewing the Tank 3 Pro and Tank 3S. 88.49 builds these intense, rugged data appliances with an everything in the kitchen sink approach to features bolted onto a chunky frame. The Tank 4 Pro continues that tradition, though it is a bit of a morphing of the Tank 3 Pro and 3S. I just want to get some of those generational differences out of the way first. The Tank 4 Pro is a slimmer frame and has a smaller battery than the 3 Pro. The cameras are also more like the 3S, where the 4 Pro lacks the ultra-wide camera that we had on the 3 Pro. I wanted to start with those generational compromises, downgrades, because the rest of this is all about the nice upgrades. Some really nicely improved bits year over year. Starting with the display. We move up from a 1080p LCD on the 3 Pro to a 1440p AMOLED on the 4 Pro. The brightness hasn't changed dramatically that I can see, but indoors it's a little nicer. A better contrast, looks a bit juicier when you're watching movies or playing games. And you can tell 88.49 is pretty chuffed about that new screen. There's a whole new menu in the display settings for customizing the display. I'm reviewing the 18 gigabytes of RAM version of the Tank 4 Pro, and that now comes with a terabyte of internal storage. My Tank 3 Pro had 512 gig. And awesomely, we still have those fantastically useful features like a dual SIM card tray and memory card expansion. So I could quickly add another terabyte if I wanted to, or keeping a headphone jack because it was always ruthlessly stupid and greedy to get rid of cabled audio on phones. Now, walking around the frame, it's crazy obvious this is built for a specific kind of consumer. Like, well, it's not gonna be for everyone. Because yeah, that's the point. Metal and polycarb body rated IP68 and mil-spec 810H, and that's with active cooling. There's a fan inside this thing, and it's still rated for extreme durability. The power button also houses the fingerprint scanner like the Tank 3's. This is a bit futzy. It's not one of the fastest I've used, and it likes a very particular touch after you turn the screen on. It's not my favorite, but I still prefer that over maybe a mid in-display kind of solution. The left side maintains all the other buttons, volume, lantern, and a customizable button. The volume rocker is a lot smaller and it's higher placed now, but they are easily identified by touch on this top corner. The rear has all of our cameras, the infrared camera, and the super bright camping lantern. And the top of the phone has a significantly upgraded projector, and we'll talk about this more in just a bit. Now, the Tank 4 Pro gets a newer chip, the Dimensity 8300. It's not a radically more powerful chip than what was in the Tank 3 Pro, the Dimensity 8200, but it is all around better in every category that we can test. More powerful CPU, more powerful GPU. It's a great chip at that border between mid-rangers and premium tier phones. The 8300 is a punchy little bugger, and that adds a bit more flexibility and capability to hardware that's already trying to cover all the bases. I would not position this as the solution for graphics intense gaming, but it's overkill for a lot of the titles I like to play. It can handle some beefy games, even if it's not at the top of the performance charts. And this is where I take a brief tangent, as I like to point this out in rugged phone reviews, and people who like rugged phones can sometimes get a bit cranky pants when I say something like this. The Tank 4 Pro is not a great phone. I'm gonna repeat that. It's not a great phone. All the things people take for granted in modern smartphone design, a lot of that's not gonna work here. Do you like to play games on your phone? Well, you can forget about using this with any traditional phone controller solution. You wanna quickly pop your phone on a tripod or on a vent clip in your car? No, that's not gonna work here. The Tank 3 Pro shredded one of the pockets on my favorite pair of jeans. And I'm pretty sure it broke a small bone in my foot when I dropped it on it. The tank phones are not good phones, but they are amazing data connected appliances. And when we had the fires out here in January, one of the first things I did was pop my SIM card in the Tank 3 Pro. And I had battery life for days. It became vital for keeping us connected. We could keep it charged off of one of our solar batteries, and we could also use it to slow charge other devices when we needed to. We had days of power outages, but we could still watch a movie together, and it helped calm my daughter down. It was just a little slice of normal. Now, I get really cheeky about this kind of stuff. I'm drawing a line in the sand here and making this kind of pedantic description of what is a good phone and what is not a good phone. But when you have the opportunity to see a gadget like this really live up to its potential, it helps show why these gadgets exist. We used every part of the Tank 3 Pro during a couple of really scary days. Okay, back to the Tank 4 Pro and this idea of everything in the kitchen sink. There's one massive upgrade here over the 3 Pro. The Tank 4 Pro has a proper USB 3 port on the bottom. The Dimensity 8300 is an upper mid-ranger, almost premium chip. But when you pair it with a USB 3 port on the bottom, that means we get video output. Not only using the projector, you can hook up the tank to a monitor or a TV and expand the use on this phone even more. Now, sadly, the Android bare bones desktop mode is totally broken. It does not work at all. But there's still more that we can do with this now. Like, you could hook it up to a nice face display. This is a huge feature to add to a phone, and it's a travesty. It's awful that more mid-ranger phones can't do this. Honestly, any phone over $300 should be able to hook up to another screen, monitor, TV, or display. We're long overdue correcting for that part of the market where maybe someone's only computer might be a phone, so why can't we let them hook it up to another screen? But I digress. The camera is an interesting trade of features and performance. The Tank 3 Pro had a 200 megapixel sensor. Whoa, so many pixels. But the Tank 4 moves over to the older, lower resolution GN1. So we go from more pixels to fewer pixels, but we also move from a smaller sensor to a slightly larger sensor. This is very similar to the camera sensor that's in a Pixel 9 Pro. The issue there, though, it's not going to compete against a Pixel. Let's just get that out of the way right now. I mean, Google's image processing is one thing, but the other issue, though, is that the aperture is a little smaller. It's likely a smaller housing and lens setup as the Tank 3 Pro. The cameras here were never going to be the selling point. This is not a content creation platform, but these shooters are pretty good. You can get some decent images out of this camera hardware. It's more about flexibility and knowing you can go from traditional color images to infrared at night. Exactly the kind of feature set you'd want when camping. The cameras overall, I think, are kind of a wash and maybe a downgrade if you really liked having that ultra wide shooter on the Tank 3 Pro. But the projector is a big upgrade. We step up from a 480p projector to 720p. The image is much nicer. You can't easily see those blocky pixels anymore. Better detail overall. And we keep the auto keystone, but then we also add autofocus. The Tank 3 had a dial that you had to manually turn to focus. The Tank 4 Pro does it all for you. Now, I recently reviewed the 8849 Mars mini projector, and it seems like they just put that mini projector inside this phone. The Tank 3 Pro projector is fun. It is useful. It helped us during some power outages, but the Tank 4 Pro is nicer and easier to use in every way. But the smaller battery might be a concern. Running the projector, you're going to burn between 20 and 25% of your battery every hour the projector is running. So it would be nice to have that double-sized capacity we had on the Tank 3 Pro, but while we aren't using the fanciest, most expensive, slimmest battery technology, we are going split cell in the Tank 4 Pro, and that means we keep 120 watt fast charging. 8849 includes a 120 watt power delivery charger in the box. There's no wireless charging here, and I don't care. You would not want to trickle charge a battery this big at like 15 watts. I got the battery down to about 25%. I plugged it in for 30 minutes. It was back up to 91%. And the reverse charging is faster too. We bumped up from around 10 watts to around 25 watts. So when you connect this and you want to charge another phone, that's going to be faster and nicer too. And lastly, the software is pretty simple. It's less about skinning and customizing and more about support for a couple hardware features and a few custom apps. The phones are really clever with this projector. Unlike screen sharing to a monitor, the display on the phone will time out and you can save some battery while the projector continues to operate. The headphone jack will enable FM radio reception when you plug in some earbuds. And there's that cute little toolbox collection of applets, compass and camping lantern and flashlight modes, levels and elevation and measuring tools, manly things for outdoorsmen. I still don't know why we have these hazard lights, but we do. Someone mentioned in one of my comments that maybe in an emergency you could set this up instead of road flares, and I guess that's true, but I just don't know that I'd leave my phone out there just to have some hazard lights that people could see. But with all this functionality, hardware and software, you have to know you're not buying in on the longest support window. It has Android 14 out of the box. I genuinely don't know what plans there might be for Android 15. I doubt this will ever get Android 16. We'll probably be getting most of our support from Google Play system updates. So when we add all this together, I think there's one major compromise year over year on the battery. There's a small compromise on the camera collection, and another compromise on things like software longevity, but then everything else in this experience is an upgrade. It's nice to see the other improvements. It's why I like to categorize this as an internet-enabled appliance, and I'm less focused on trying to compare it against traditional smartphones. They're just not the same species. Folks interested in this have to be those people who are hardware first. They're putting that money towards the insane collection of hardware bits here. It makes the most sense as a companion device. You might use a regular phone for your daily stuff and then keep something like this in reserve for outdoorsy stuff, for vacations, or for emergencies. The Tank 3 Pro came in clutch when we really needed it, and I have a good feeling the Tank 4 Pro will step up if we run into problems too. These things are so useful and they're so much fun, even if they're terrible phones. So I will, of course, leave some links down in the description below this video if you would like more information on the Tank 4 Pro. Maybe shop one of these bad boys online. As always, thanks so much for watching, for sharing these videos and reviews, subscribing to the channel, maybe smash a bell icon here or there. I don't know, you might like it. You can give it a try. I love getting to spend some time with a new gadget, and the folks who get to see the results of my testing and reviewing first are my incredible patrons. All of the awesome people at patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. This list of names scrolling by on your screen right now, a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart, as these are the folks that are helping to keep the lights on here in the Gadget Lab. And they also help drive the future of content on this channel. We get into some really interesting conversations, and I turn to them a lot just to try and figure out what we should do next. They're basically the coolest tech pals in the universe, so I hope you'll check them out. I hope you'll consider joining the community at patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. Now, you know where you can find me across the rest of the internet, at SomeGadgetGuy basically everywhere, but these days I'm trying to spend a bit more time on the Mastodons, little on the Blue Skis, and no, almost none at all on the Facebooks, the Threads, the Instagrams, definitely not that dumpster fire site, and I will catch you all on the next review.